it. Just do it.
Do it.
Munson and the Geeza. Munson and the Geeza. Reporting from the scene. Munson and the Geeza. News in every ride.
Woo-hoo-hoo. Hey, I tell you what I've been thinking about.
I haven't asked. Come on. How are you, Tony? Good evening.
I know we haven't spoken for a whole week.
Right.
And I should possibly say, hello, sir. How do you do? How do you do?
You haven't got time for that, though, have you?
I haven't got time for that because I want to show everyone what I've been thinking about. And I've been thinking about the difference.
You only got an hour.
The difference between Americans and British people. This is the difference. I could do it in two songs. Okay. Right. So everyone's already sick of this song, which is I don't want a lot
not for Christmas, but there
is just one thing
I need.
I don't care about the presents underneath the Christmas tree. I just want you to be seven for my own, more than you could ever know. Make my dream come true. Oh, baby, all I want for Christmas. Wait, hold it. This is Mariah's version.
2, 3, 4.
I don't want a lot for Christmas. There is just one thing I need. Right now, there you go. There you go. So that's
that was all that's wrong with America, right there.
That's what's wrong with America. And now compare this. Yeah. Compare this to the British. Okay, are you ready?
Do I need to stand for this?
All around me are familiar faces, worn out faces.
I'm fine,
ready for the daily races, going nowhere. This is the Christmassy bit. This is the bit that really gets me into the Christmas spirit.
Yeah.
Their tears are filling up their glasses. No expression. Wait for it. Hide my head. I want to drown my sorrow. No tomorrow.
It's a Christmas song. What are you talking about? It never was a Christmas song.
Christmas #1. Gary Jules
really?
in 19 something.
God, what was happening then?
Well, we in England, it's notorious. We have quite a lot of sort of. We have the odd Christmas. Like, of course, they're all celebrating. Isn't it the 40th anniversary of the Band-Aid? It's Christmas time, and
there's no need to be afraid.
Hey, the wokies are trying to change it as well.
The wokies.
The wokies.
You know, it's not the wokies. It's the people writing in the right-wing press and the newsrooms of the right-wing media saying, what would wokies do about this? Let's pretend they're saying that and make it up as a news story.
I think there's a bit of both.
Well, what one person said it, and then it becomes the wokies. It's been going on forever. It was like in London in the 80s when supposedly you couldn't say a black bag anymore because that was offensive according to the GLC. Now, one person probably said something about it, and then it got escalated out of all proportion and control.
I don't know, there's a few things though like that. Do you remember it was like what was it? The Led Zeppelin song. Do you remember that?
No.
I don't know, but I've been told that a be like woman ain't got no soul. Be like. You know, they had a problem because there was the black wouldn't go with the beat. They'd go be
Oh,
black.
I see. Right, okay,
A
very
be
blue.
black woman ain't got no soul.
No, I am upset now. I've never heard of it before, but now
Yeah.
I'm
Now you
upset.
can't listen to Led Zeppelin ever again because
No,
they are
they're cancelled.
racist.
They are
some
cancelled as
racist
far as I'm
lyrics.
concerned. I never wanted to listen anyway, but I've got a really good reason now. So thank you for that.
Listen, I'm freezing, by the way. What are you talking about?
What do you mean? What am I
I'm
talking
freezing. I'm sitting here with you and your
about? Hat
friend.
on.
I tell you what, it has been. I've literally got an oil heater between my legs, ladies.
Ooh.
Ladies.
Well, would you like us to come back later?
I got an oil heater between my legs. You know what I'm saying?
That's the best chat up line ever, Tony.
Yeah, I got an oil heater. Yeah.
Hey, it's
Yep,
just the way I walk.
yep.
It is just the way you walk, and I imagine that might cause that could cause some serious varicose veins of the various areas to which it's applying heat at the moment. So you want to be careful.
Yeah. Yep.
It's the opposite of sitting on stone cold walls, I suspect. So be careful. I'm not going to be rubbing any ointment on for you, my friend.
I'm wearing shorts as well. I don't know. It doesn't make sense. None of it makes sense. Yeah.
Nothing makes sense anymore, Tony.
On my to-do list, pay Pedro. God, what's the date?
Are you actually looking at your to-do list at the moment?
Well, every now and again, I get a little gap. Yeah.
What, to think about something else?
Yeah.
That's a possible theme for this week. You have been doing a lot of thinking. I think you've taken my meditation videos, so-called, as a personal insult. That I'm trying to take your thinking away from you. Is there any truth in that?
It could be. Like I say, I do the anti meditation. I try and think about everything at once.
Yeah.
All the things.
How is that going?
All the things. It's going really well. I think about everything. The bunions on the feet of a goat herder in Mexico. I'm thinking about that.
And do you know what? He feels just that little bit better for you being
maybe. I'm sending him good vibes. I'm sending the guy positive vibes.
Yeah. So hopefully he's tuned in this afternoon.
Leave that goat alone. Okay. That's all I'm saying.
No wonder you got bunions, buddy. Right. I used to wish I could sing. Now I wish Tony could sing. I think.
That's a good one.
Hey, it is a good one, isn't it? Hold on a minute. There it is.
No, I respect that.
Just kidding.
Didn't I ever tell you about? I might have mentioned this on the show, but years ago, I used to manage a backpackers bar in Adelaide, in Australia, and I think it was Friday or Saturday. I can't remember. We had karaoke.
Oh yeah,
and the guy who did the karaoke is a funny guy. He was like a really big guy. He'd been a prison guard of all things, and then he got out of that game and gone into, why not? Gone into doing karaoke.
It's kind of similar. There are transferable skills, aren't there? Can you imagine him at the interview? So thanks for coming, mate. What do you think you could bring to this position of karaoke technician? And he's like, well, I used to be in the prison. I used to be in the prison game, and it's people skills, getting people to take turns.
Yeah.
Those sort of. Let me see now. Singing the blues, playing the harmonica, all of that sort of stuff. A perfect transition. So sorry, carry on.
He was good at it. I mean, our kind of metric was how much money goes through the till, basically.
So people would drink in order to become uninhibited and take.
Yeah, and he was quite good at controlling the. I don't know if you know this, but if you have karaoke, like you get people who do karaoke DJing.
Yeah.
Have you not done this before?
I'm getting into it. I want to make this is a priority for next year.
Well, what's funny is you kind of get groupies who follow you. So, for example, he did karaoke's every night at different places, right? Sometimes even like during the day, another place. So he would do it 1 or 2 times every day. And there were people who would follow him. They liked his karaoke show, but they were quite serious. It's crazy. No. This is the problem. They weren't even drinking. They weren't even drinking. So the idea and the problem with them is some of them were really good singers.
Yeah.
Like seriously, they were really good singers. And the problem with that, what do you think happens if you start a karaoke up and then you have the first few people just are really, really good? So anyway, he used to always ask me and my mate Nigel to do a few songs. So I had a few that I used to like to do. I used to like to do Lenny Kravitz, You know, I wanna get away. You know that one?
Yes. I want to get away. I want to get away.
When I wake up, I know I'm gonna be the man who.
You did that as well. Hey,
And
hey,
I did a placebo one, Pure Morning. I used to do as well.
Right.
So anyway, and he'd always say,
"Yeah." You don't actually sing, and you hope to get better anyway. No, maybe
placebo. Is that what yeah, there you go. Okay. So yeah, obviously, because I would always be behind the bar, right? So he would call me and he'd go, "Let's get that barman out from behind the bar."
Yes, very good.
I come out there, I want to get away, and everyone would be like, "Yeah."
Until they need another drink, and then I get back behind the bar.
So anyway, that was the thing, and then I would say something like, "Right, let's go, let's get some beers," and I'd go back and I'd gee everyone up for a drink. Okay.
Yeah, that's the teamwork you need. You need the bar and the karaoke guy working together, don't you?
You really do. You really do. It works like that. You got to have it. You got to have a relationship with the between the two for sure.
Yes. Yeah.
And then this had been going on for however long, and I said to him something about, I really enjoyed the singing or whatever. It's good fun. I said it's not something I really ever did, because it's not something I do. I don't go to sing karaoke. I never really did it. But I quite enjoy it when it happens. Yeah. And he said to me, the thing is, I love to get you up first because you're so bad at just and he just said it like flat. He just meant what he was saying. He just said, you're so bad that after you, anyone can get up. It really
so
works.
you need plants of that kind, don't you? Who think,
it's
terrible. If he can do
it, but I was just like, how do you know that you aren't crushing me?
Right.
Or maybe he just knows me. But I kind of thought I could be. I know people who that would have crushed.
Yeah, and I do think you're a little bit crushed even to this day by that. There is a little something, isn't there? Even though you're putting
there's nowhere to go. There's nowhere to go. Eventually, you've been crushed so much.
A singing teacher is where you should
go. No, Carl, eventually you've been crushed so much. Do you know what I mean? You're completely flat. So
no. I'm sure Roosevelt or somebody said you cannot be crushed. Ultimately, there was always just a little bit of uncrushedness from which you can build and come back.
That's why they say you can never get to your destination.
A lot.
You're getting like scientific on me, Carl. Isn't that scientific idea? You can never get to your destination.
Exactly, and the science.
Do you know why? Because
it's been settled on this.
50%. You get 50% there, and then 50% more, 50% more, and you can only ever.
Oh, quantum traveling.
Yeah. You can never quite.
How are you there? You're there and you're not there. I guess you're very good.
Please don't say that's Schrodinger's cat.
I didn't mention it. What you said? Don't mention it. Right.
Don't mention it, me. Okay. I really hate people. I just that's it. Full stop.
Right.
I really hate people. No. Yeah. You ever see on social media people always make jokes about Schrodinger's cat.
Yeah.
And I always feel like saying, right.
Tony, did they beat you to it? Were you working on one and someone else did it?
There should be a rule that if you want to make any jokes about Schrodinger's cat, you have to explain what Schrodinger's cat was, because I think most people don't know.
And you do.
Me
I think you're getting the last laugh. Well, not really a laugh. The last smirk. The last smug smirk.
Yeah, I know. I learned everything I know about science from Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Very good. You won't have to go anywhere else if you listen to him, I suspect.
I get everything. Everything I know about science, I get from him.
Very good.
Science. And if
he's so humble. He is so humble, isn't he? And that's what I love about him.
He's a humble guy.
Right.
Hey, listen.
What?
Go.
No. After you.
Well, I was just going to mention UFOs.
Yes. So was I tonight. It's coming, isn't it? It's coming. It's on the way. And
it's got to be the next thing. They're talking about it in Congress.
Yeah, it's one of the next possibles, isn't it? Because that's how it works. It's like a hand of cards, isn't it? So UFOs is one of the cards. Climate change is another one, isn't it? Next pandemic is another card. It's like, no, not that one.
Zombie apocalypse. I know you don't like that one, but I like it. I like it.
Yeah.
When you're being prepped for because we're being prepped, aren't we? Like
in
Congress, in Congress, like it started with Obama, in my opinion, and I pulled a bit up so I know so that I can kind of pretend I know what I'm talking about, which was in
You don't have to say
wasn't
that.
it was in 2021 when Obama gave a blunt assessment of the videos of unidentified aerial phenomenon that have continued to gain attention in the United States. So he was speaking to, well, he's speaking to James Corden, wasn't he? James Corden, and he said,
the rotund comedian,
right? He said quite openly, and I'm quoting him, "We can't explain how they moved, their trajectory," he said. "They did not have an easily explainable pattern. And so I think that people still take seriously trying to investigate and figure out what that is." And what
he could have been talking about Joe Biden, to be fair. That fits the bill for speaking about Joe Biden making his way across the stage.
Well, what he was talking about was the sort of more credible footage and what do you call it? Eyewitness accounts from the US Navy, who often have jet fighters that are, what do they call it? Buzzed by I try to say, they're buzzed by aliens and
bungled or buzzed.
Yeah. And so aeronautics experts have struggled to explain because they appear to move in ways that are beyond like
comprehension.
Even
Neil deGrasse Tyson is what you're saying. Doesn't know how they do it.
Neil deGrasse Tyson, he'd probably tell you that he knows. I don't know. But the
scientists
smugly, he would say something smugly. I don't know what it would be.
He can't say it speaking any other way, and he would start probably with, "We scientists think that," just to sort of lay down a sense of authority straight away, which works for most people. Let's face it.
But they're actually openly talking about UFOs in Congress at the moment, and to me this sounds like prepping. And by the way, if you ever watched 28 days later? 28 days later. Because I'm whispering because this is important.
Don't want YouTube to hear this.
The famous English zombie movie 28. There was 28. I think there was 27 days later, then 28 days later. Now they're coming out with 28 days later. So this is the zombie apocalypse prep. Zombie apocalypse. They're prepping us for the zombie apocalypse.
Yeah, but why 28-day blocks? What's that about?
I don't know whose idea that was. I don't know, but there it is. But anyway, so speaking about the UFOs, and now I always was led to understand that the reason the government doesn't tell us about the UFOs is because we can't handle it. We can't handle it, Carl. Can we? We can't handle it. And look at me. You're
on the edge. I think a UFO or two would just push you over the edge.
Crypto. There you go. 28. So it was a series. It was like that. 28 hours later, 28 days later, 28 weeks later, now 28 years later.
Well, all I can think is that's 28 weeks you're not going to get back. Basically, I'm not interested. But I get the point. I get the point.
So they're prepping us. They're prepping us because
it's true.
I think aliens, zombies. I kind of think this is what you got to understand, right?
Yes.
For me, this is all the same thing because these are interdimensional beings. Actually,
are they? What are we talking about? Who? The politicians who are talking about?
The aliens, the zombies. They're all kind of like just images of the same thing. I mean, you don't even have to ask Neil deGrasse Tyson the physics problem.
I was just about to as well.
The physics problem. You've got him online too.
Ring him up.
The physics.
I don't need to now. Thank you for that.
The simple physics of the thing. These things can't be coming from other stars, for example, because of the problem of the speed of light and all that kind of thing, right?
Based on current understanding.
Current.
Yes. Contemporary, if you like.
As always, I haven't had time to eat. So when you say currents, it makes me feel a bit hungry.
Or anything I mention that is a food stuff, it just distracts you immediately.
Yeah. But what's been interesting me about this whole UFO thing? They've changed the name of UFOs now, don't you?
Well, that doesn't surprise me.
They call them.
Is that to limit the offence that would be caused by them?
I don't know, but I'm trying to find. I can't remember what they. Yeah, they call them now they call them UAPs.
I have heard.
UAPs.
Yeah, but that's to refresh it in the mind, isn't it? That's to make you think about it more.
Well, what keeps throwing me about it is it's way too close to OAPs. So I keep hearing things like, in England this evening, there have been sightings of OAPs hovering over politicians. Over politicians. And I think, well, that'll be because they're freezing.
No, they're
all freezing.
And a strong storm last weekend. There may well have been OAPs. Oh, on a sentimental moment, have you seen the new Coldplay single featuring Dick Van Dyke?
Okay, thank you for. No, I do like a bit of Coldplay. It
Oh,
was
not
a
a bit of
while
dick.
actually. Our yeah, we don't
Right.
nothing
Hold
wrong
on,
with it. Nothing wrong with that.
Cristiano's asking us what the topic is. We don't even
Ha
know that.
ha
How
ha
can we
ha ha
possibly
ha
answer that?
ha ha ha.
Don't come here with difficult questions, Cristiano.
Yeah,
Right.
we're not here to answer the really difficult questions.
So you haven't heard it yet, though. The
No,
Coldplay.
I haven't. But we became when me and my sons used to go busking. I don't know. It kind of happened just sort of magically. We kind of became like a Coldplay cover band.
Did you?
So we used to cover quite a lot of their songs. I like them. I know a lot of people.
Yeah, it's kind of cool to not like them in a way, isn't it?
Yeah. Who was that band? There was a band before that was like that.
Elbow.
I can't remember.
Yes, Travis.
Yeah, there's always been bands, haven't there? That it's cool.
Yeah.
Not of course I don't like them.
And they're great musicians, but they're accused of being a little bit too commercial or up themselves or whatever.
Yeah, well, I like a few of those.
The best review I heard of Coldplay was it's like crying while masturbating. I thought that was the perfect description of their music.
Well, I remember it was at Noel Gallagher. I remember someone saying to Noel Gallagher, and he said, "Oh, what do you think of the criticism that all of your songs just sound like the Beatles?" And he said to the guy asking him, he said, "Well, let's hear some of yours then, and we'll compare notes."
Oh,
yeah.
Ouch! Yeah.
I tell you what, both of them, Liam and Noel, are sharp. They're sharp as tacks. Those two. There's quite a few good YouTube videos of them. If you put in Liam Gallagher or Noel Gallagher being funny, you will laugh your head off.
They've been around the block.
But this OAP thing, it got me thinking about because I sometimes have a lot of confusion over these. What do you call them? They're mnemonics, aren't they? Is that the word? Acronyms. What's a mnemonic?
A mnemonic. That's to help you remember something like Richard of York gave battle in vain.
There you go. I'm talking about the other one.
If ever I need a job teaching English, you can help me out, can't you?
Yeah, thank you.
Passed the entrance exam there.
Yeah, I'm not getting any new students through these shows, believe me. But
hold on a minute. That's a bit random, T-Duck. That could be applied to anything that Tony has said so far this evening.
Well, this is what I'm talking about. What does that? Yeah, exactly. So thinking about the OAPs and the UFOs, but I was watching a Joe Rogan podcast a while ago, and he was talking about kayfabe, and referencing it to politics in the US. It's saying it's all kayfabe. And then he said, the person on the show asked him what kayfabe was, and he said, "Well, you know the WWF."
Yes.
And I'm like, the Worldwide Fund for Nature.
Wrestling.
Yeah.
Yes.
He was talking about wrestling, but they're both WWF, aren't they? And they couldn't be more different, as far as I know, unless it's wrestling. And then there was another one I heard as well recently, which was, and this isn't so much a acronym, but just a similar word, was, Hunter Biden, who's of course just been
strategic.
He's just been pardoned, hasn't he, by his father?
Yeah.
And I actually made a video about it, and I said, well, to be honest with you, I'd probably pardon my son if I could. It's just what we do as fathers, isn't it?
Yeah.
But they kept on saying, I kept hearing he used to be a barista, and I thought that can't be right.
You should be a barrister.
A barista, or maybe a barrister, but it turns out he used to work for a company called Barisma. It's too close, isn't it? Don't you think?
What?
The barista.
Okay, what? So he should have refused that job to stop you being confused some years later.
Yeah. Why? Who would call their company Barisma? It's like Barisma. Just makes me think. It's
one of those. It's one of those odd companies like International Exports, isn't it? You don't really know what it does, which is quite useful if you're traveling around Ukraine looking for
what they do. Everyone knows what they do. They clean money, don't they? Yeah. But I mean, I've had the other one with I remember the president of China.
Yes.
And they said, and I remember with that one, it said the president.
She said.
Yeah, the president of China is touring Australia, and I thought the president of China is touring Australia. I didn't even know they played. I didn't even know they played cricket.
Oh dear. Right. Well, that actually, that
I
genuinely
actually-
went through your mind.
I actually thought it was seconds or maybe even a split second, but there was a split second where I was like, "Phew, God."
This is why I think you should meditate. And I don't like shitting on people, but I am a little bit concerned about your
Stop shitting on me.
febrile mind. It is
Stop
going
shitting
to
on me.
extreme proportions. Now,
Yeah.
we're going to have a serious moment because in one of our interactions, and it was about the meditation thing and stilling the mind, thinking, not thinking, you did mention Syria. And on the one hand, we could have a very deep, animated.
I don't think I said anything about Syria.
You
but
so did. You said something about Syria.
Did
Hold
I?
on a minute. What's this? So, two love hearts. What is that? A elastoplast that Shaheen Ahmed is sending us there. I was going to say the same thing, T-Duck. Carl thinks he's chatting with me, but it's actually Grok. So he's outsourced our WhatsApp chat to AI. By the sound,
I tell you what, I got Grok because I was
you can
interested
get a cream for that. You can definitely get a cream.
I was interested in the art, but I tell you what, there's no question for me that ChatGPT 4, the paid version,
Yeah,
is much better at English than Grok.
really.
That's all I'm going to say. You ask Grok to do something like check an essay, and it doesn't know what it's doing. It's like
Right,
random,
okay.
but
Is
it's
it?
better. It's better at art. I'll give it that. It's better. At
Yeah,
art
I mean, like with all things, right? It's going to have its
Mm.
pluses and minuses, isn't it? I think T-Duck is a big fan of the Grok.
Yep.
So you seem to rather fob me off there when I mentioned Syria. Is it like, well, whatever, South Korea last week?
Show me
Syria,
the money. Show me the money.
right?
Show me the money.
He said very enigmatically, as if
Twitter archaeology. That's what they call it on that Good Morning Breakfast show, or whatever it's called. Essay I use it to make cat memes. So there we go. I imagine it's quite good at making cat memes.
right.
If you ask ChatGPT or DALL-E, which is the art version of ChatGPT, to make you a cat meme, it would say something like, "I apologize. Somebody might get offended. It goes against my programming to make something, that abuses cats in such a way," or something. You can't. It's so up itself,
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Is that all the dirty water out of the pipe now? Do you think? Are we going to get to some clear stuff? Because it just felt for the last half an hour, I opened the pipe up and out it came. You know, the hot water that you get on a summer's day. You open up the pipe and it's a little bit hot, isn't it? And it's a little bit old.
Yeah.
And then you get down to the nice clear. Fresh
Well, it's been a week. It's been a week.
Okay. So
What's this about Syria anyway?
What do you mean?
Listen, everyone, what he's trying to do, he's got nothing. I didn't say anything about Syria.
You got nothing.
I didn't say anything about Syria. I haven't really. Do you know the reason I haven't been talking about Syria is because I don't know anything about it.
Okay.
I
never normally stops you though. To be fair to say.
I don't know anything about it. Yeah, I haven't had time. Right to go on Wikipedia.
Can I give you my potted? Can I give you my potted bit? If I start talking about it, that means you can go to ChatGPT 4 and say, "Tell me everything I need to know about Syria, quick." Right? Whilst I, feel for you for a moment. Right? So basically, this show is me filling for Tony while he looks things up on AI, and then sounds really intelligent about 10 seconds into me speaking. Here we go. We're gonna give you a demonstration of that right now. Now, Syria has been under the rule of Assad, both senior and junior, who has been overthrown and ended up in Russia, as I understand it, or as I've been told by news media. Whether that is true or not, I do not know. And there are a number of rumors and stories circulating, as there always are. But effectively, it would appear, and how it's being reported, is that the old regime is over and they are in a state of turbulence as a new administration is seeking to establish itself, which allows the whole situation to be hijacked, proxied, projected upon, and misunderstood or used for every personal political position possible. That is how I see it going on in Syria. The most interesting thing to me has been to talk to a Syrian friend who I met in the UK, who introduced me to another guy who came, I think he was a Kurdish Syrian, who traveled to the UK in the back of a flour lorry, and his story was extraordinary. But they now both stand a chance of going home to Syria. My friend Bara I exchanged some messages on him, and that's what I love. It's like actually knowing somebody from the conflict or the situation and finding out from them what's going on. He was delighted with the possibility of returning to Syria after basically being kept out of his own country for years.
It's interesting because there's quite a lot of memes around where apparently they've asked Syrian people, well, now that Assad is gone and that was your claim for asylum, you'll be going home then, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And they'd be
That's
going,
what I'm saying. It's being seized upon
no.
by everybody. So people,
no. The economic situation is garbage, right?
but some do, some don't, and that's what I mean. You know, it's an individual situation, isn't it? You know, I don't suppose you want to go back to the UK, do you?
No.
However,
because Starmer, I'm claiming asylum from Starmer.
Over here, right? Okay.
Well, I'm not claiming asylum. The UK is an asylum.
Yeah,
I'm claiming let me out of the asylum.
Yeah. See, here's one take on it. Assad is gone. He's a tyrant, and now with his buddy Putin. Now,
that's right. Who I worry about is the Christians in Syria, who still speak Aramaic, which is the language that Jesus spoke. And of course, they're a minority in Syria, and they're very worried, aren't they?
Why do you keep looking over to you've got? Can you not get a teleprompter for your ChatGPT research?
No. I'm honestly, this is not ChatGPT. Do you know what ChatGPT said to me? And I quote. So I said to ChatGPT, I said, give me some humorous things to say about what's going on in Syria right now.
Oh dear, right. Okay, that's
not
a good start.
ChatGPT said, Syria's ongoing situation, and if it could have been looking down its nose with a Neil deGrasse Tyson smugma, it would have.
Yes.
Syria's ongoing situation is marked by complex geopolitical issues, human suffering, and international tension.
No laughing.
While humor can be a tool for coping and commentary, it's essential to approach such topics with sensitivity and awareness of the human impact. If you'd like, I can help brainstorm thoughtful ways to use humor that highlights absurdities in international politics or the responses to the situation without undermining the seriousness of the crisis. Let me know how you'd like to proceed.
That's no use.
I replied,
just do it.
No, I replied, just do it. Just do it.
Okay.
And then it said, for example, and I'll give you one. It gave me several. I'll just give you one.
Yeah.
Syria, the world's longest running international we'll fix it next week project. Politicians have been promising peace longer than I've been waiting for my coffee to cool.
That sounds like, have I got news for you? Is that where they write their stuff?
It could be. It's awful, isn't it?
It's just news for you or what you just got.
Both of them are awful.
So I'm not bothered. I really have yet to.
The wokies got hold of Have I Got News for You?
That's right. And AI. Yeah, definitely.
The wokies got hold of AI.
Can I tell you something that has occurred to me? And whenever you accuse me of something like, "Oh, you don't like the zombie apocalypse, do you?" or something along those lines, I do think about that. You know, I reflect upon it, and I've been thinking, well, okay, well, what is it that bothers me about this possible Syrian situation, which sounds so pompous anyway, doesn't it? I mean, I prefer not to think about things I can't do anything about. And then at the same time, I'm very drawn in by wanting to know and understand what's going on. And the thing that I think the overwhelming thing to me that's kind of scalable or relatable with what might be happening now, it just occurred to me, what happens in a tyrant vacuum? And we've seen this the world over, haven't we? All the other superpowers pour in. And and typically the United States likes a bit of regime change, doesn't it? It likes to install.
You could go on and on, couldn't you? You could start with like even Romania or something. I mean, there's been Gaddafi, Saddam Hussein,
of course.
Even South Africa. You know what I mean? It just goes on and on and on.
It's BlackRock. It's companies looking. It's the military-industrial complex looking for new work abroad. And this is what could happen in Syria. May well be what's happening in Syria. And they also like an Islamist radical regime, don't they, to deal with as well?
Yeah. This, in my opinion, and this is going to be very, very unpopular when I say this, but in my opinion, there are some cultures that don't like democracy, and I think the democratic world has to accept that. Yes. Like, for example, in China, there's a very popular phrase which goes, "I don't care who the emperor is, as long as there's rice on my plate."
Yes.
You
Yeah.
know
And
what
you
I
can
mean?
understand that as a human urge. And we've had conversations, haven't we, about, that there are
Oh, yes, we have.
incompatible
We have
well,
had
about the
conversations.
incompatibility of cultures and how
Yeah,
you don't want to import some of the aspects of a particular culture into your culture because it might be antithetical or
yeah.
unsupportive or even downright undermining. And I know that's something, that's what is it called? Replacement theory. That's something you've talked about, I think, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. Well, you got to be careful with that because it's racist.
Yeah, but
Even though Muhammad is now the most popular boy's name in the UK, for example. Now
yeah.
that might not be, or might be a problem. But to me, there's a simple mathematical formula, Carl. Do you know what I mean?
Well, is it though? Because that
It is. It
that
is. Just look at the birth rates.
Okay,
It's simple. It's simple
I don't know
mathematics.
what's behind it. It doesn't mean that let's say all boys born in UK now are Muhammad and
I know it. I know it doesn't mean that. I know it
right.
doesn't mean that. Yeah.
And what it might mean is that a lot of it's a bit like how in Portugal it would be skewed, wouldn't it? Because people tend to choose the same names. If let's say the other non-Islamic population of the UK, I'm not saying it's one way or the other. I just think it's interesting to look at what might be underneath.
Yeah,
it.
yeah, it is
There's
interesting, but
diversity,
I've gone to a point where it's like I can't do the mental gymnastics anymore, Carl. Do you know what I mean? I just can't do it.
Bothered. You can't be
Well,
bothered.
it's not a matter of
Would
I
you
can't
just
be
rather
bothered.
go
To me, it's just the math. The math is clear.
Right.
The birth rate among, and I will use the word indigenous population because I just don't care. That's who the English are. They are the indigenous.
Right.
They are the indigenous population of England. And
Yes.
I'm not saying they're the only people that have a right to be there. I'm not saying any of those things. But the indigenous population of England now have a negative birth rate, where many of the populations who are migrating to England en masse have not just a positive birth rate, but a highly positive birth rate. It's just simple math. It's simple mathematics.
I don't doubt.
I'm not saying good, bad, anything. I'm just saying this. The math is very, very simple. It's like if you get a black coffee and keep pouring milk into it, eventually it'll be a white coffee.
Okay.
It'll get whiter and whiter. It'll get whiter. Do you know what I mean? I shouldn't bring color into it. That's problematic. But just for example.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So so I continue to cogitate and consider this about what is it that bothers me and what is important to me in this, in these issues. And I suppose it could be distilled as I like nice people called Muhammad. I don't care what their name is particularly. I just want them to be a nice person.
Yeah.
Now, and the further thought was, this thing about NPCs, like is it what are they non-participating characters in games?
So I think it's non-player characters. So they're the characters in games who aren't like human driven.
Yes. So I've got a new. This is what concerns me now, and it's based on hearing, picking up little bits of what you've said to me, because I do like how you challenge me with my thought process or how I perceive you to do that, whether or not you're doing it. That's what goes on for me. And I've got this new, as well as NPCs, I think there are HUBs as well, which are part of this problem, which are hidden utter bastards. Now, I'm seeing some footage on X of what can happen in a tyrant vacuum. So very extreme people can come to the fore, can't they? And this is something that's part of this whole syndrome or situation we're talking about, where in the absence of the old power, like you don't care who the tyrant is as long as there's rice on your plate. When that tyrant goes, a period of instability and utter horror can follow, can't it? Which doesn't make the old tyrant a good person, but clearly you might have a worse situation suddenly than you used to have. That awful person was holding at least something in place, which is now broken down. Regular people, like I might say you and I, want to get on with our lives. But a few other people who are the hidden utter bastards see this opportunity to come into the fray and take advantage of the situation. Now, they might be governments, and we don't see that so readily, do we? Because we see that as regime change and supportive of democracy and all that sort of stuff. What we tend to see is the reporting about wild sort of Islamist groups who are toting machine guns. Those guys who you'll see footage of somebody walking through a town, letting off a tripod-based machine gun up into the sky, and 2 other guys are feeding the bullets through, and you're thinking, good God, that looks like a chaotic, in the worst sense, anarchic situation. How on earth how are they going to bring about law and order in a situation like that? And that's why also there is a problem with just personifying the problem as being Assad. He couldn't, apparently he was a real coward and a really weak person. What made his regime work were thousands of other people who aren't being spoken about now, who are the hidden utter bastards, who arise in any regime and take advantage of the situation. And it must have been the same in Portugal, mustn't it? People speak fondly of Salazar and have characterized him as being the problem. What's really the problem is the hundreds of thousands of people who loved that situation and used it to bully, control.
It's like the working class of England who suddenly worship Thatcher because somehow.
Who are they, Tony? Who are these people?
Yeah.
Where are they? What are they doing until they can get a tripod-based machine gun and let it off in the street and take advantage of the situation? What are they doing until that point? Where are they?
I suppose what I would say is I kind of understand what you're saying. Of course, the news is going to point its camera at the thing that's going to get the most eyeballs. On But what I would say is that if Starmer's government, there is a difference. If the government in the UK collapsed tomorrow, there wouldn't be people out on the out.
Well, we saw our version of it, didn't we? With those Southport riots, people took to the streets, and nobody was firing a machine gun into the sky, were they?
Nobody was cutting off people's heads. Yeah, I know what you mean, though, because in that there was an example of it was a minority who were threatening to set the
it's like that's how we roll, isn't it? It's like that's how we do unrest, like in a fleece and a tracksuit, and your own side throw
with a can of Stella,
Exactly. Yeah. And it's really tame, isn't it? And lame almost in comparison to what we're seeing from Syria, possibly, and other regimes that have collapsed. And in come these people who clearly you don't want in your country. I don't want to see them. My friend Barra in Syria, I don't want him to have to live in a country where there are people with machine guns.
Yeah.
And I do think.
Most people don't want that. Wherever they're from, I think most people don't want that. Yeah.
And few people are willing to suggest, I suppose, that is a problem, right? That exists, that is going on, and that is the kind of culture that we don't want any part of. And we suspect that their agenda might extend to the extermination of other cultures they don't like. If given half a chance, they would.
Yeah, I think it's a problem. I think it's a problem. Yeah.
Yes. So how is that problem addressed? What can be done about it? It's complex, isn't it? It's very complex. Oh, I've been sent a lovely picture of a cat and a duck just to lighten the mood a little bit. Thanks, T.
Yeah, like I say, my problem with, I know what you're saying, but my problem with like the Syria thing is I don't know much about it.
Yeah,
I just don't really know much about it. It's one of them where I don't know much about it. So
you do know what I'm talking about, though. You identify.
I do know what you're talking about.
I remember.
It ties in with what you were saying last time about the men who were offended on behalf of what's his name? I always forget the guy because I never watched that.
Wallace and Gromit.
I never watched MasterChef as well.
Right.
Is he the guy who was on Grand Designs? Is that who it is?
No, that's Kevin Sutherland, isn't it?
Right, but Kirsty Allsop, I saw her name dragged into it, and she was on Grand Designs.
No, but she was also, loads of celebrities were on Celebrity MasterChef, of course, weren't they?
Right.
Okay.
But I get what you're saying. It kind of ties in with that, where you were saying there's a group of people who are offended on behalf of him because they see it as a part of the culture war.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, people do co-opt and project onto issues, don't they, for their own purposes?
I mean, I guarantee you, there's a lot of people in the last few days they're scrabbling to which side is it? Should I be on Assad's side or should I be on the side of the, like I guarantee you, there's a lot of people,
of course,
on Twitter trying to figure it out. Which side should I be on?
Sorry, I'm getting some serious meme trolling. on WhatsApp here, and I will share with you what's been sent to me and show you the power of grok. But it took me back to when I was a teenager. My stepfather used to work for a photo finishing company. You know, where you took your photos in, you film in, and you got your photos back a few days later, back in the old days. Digital. And he was able to put a film through for somebody. It was a bit dodgy, you know, if it was pornographic, I suppose, or if it was gory. And he showed me these pictures that he'd done for somebody from the Iranian Revolution, which must have been in the 80s one, if you like. And this was where a regime was turned over and people were hanging from lampposts.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Black and blue with public beatings. You think, wow, what is that? What is that energy, that vibe? Where does that live? Who are these people who do that sort of stuff? And I don't want to live with them. I don't want to be anywhere near those people.
No.
And I don't think they've got, I think they are out there somewhere, aren't they? And so,
Yeah,
you know, when you, and I was thinking,
some of them are in England, some of them are there.
Yes. Yeah. And that is a nettle that should be grasped, shouldn't it? If we're talking about, in the broadest terms, the European culture and ideal, which we're embarrassed about talking about, aren't we? And the European Empire or the British Empire. Talking about that makes us embarrassed about talking about.
That's why I made a video about Christianity, because I see that as well. I see that you were speaking before about a power void, and I see that as a problem. Is where we hear people openly saying there is no British culture. There is no British culture. It doesn't exist.
Yes.
The Church of England just disappearing and no one go to church anymore. And I said, no. If you want your nation to survive, you need to reclaim that. You need to reclaim that. And it's not about skin color or nationality or anything like that. But you need to reclaim that. You know, you need to say,
I'm not laughing at you.
No, but I mean, I know what British culture is. I know what it is. You know,
but it's not uniquely British. You see, this is where I could get a bit.
But what culture is? It's like when I hear people say, Elvis Presley, co-opted black music when he played his guitar. I go, well, who invented the guitar?
Well, let's go.
I mean, you could do that all day long, couldn't you? You could do
neither you and I will.
All cultures have shared things. Nothing is unique.
Let's take it to a very practical and real situation. Actually, before we do that, we have a 3 memes to just lighten the mood a little. Oh, everybody, after 3.
Is that grok? Grok?
Yes. Look at this. Look.
Well, I like that one.
You like this one as well?
The screen is on the back of the laptop, which is definitely an AI thing.
Why have I got I've got a bug splat. Error report, don't send. I don't even know where that came from. Bug splat. Is it because I put a frog onto the screen and there's a kind of bug splatting thing? Oh, T-Duck also only tuned in to see if your shelves have collapsed yet. They seem to be holding up well. I missed that comment earlier on. No,
what I do is I never touch it.
Here it is, Tony. In the last 10 minutes or so of what we're doing here, what used to be called Expat Euro News, which was our reflections as foreigners in Europe, not our home countries or countries of origin. Here we are in Portugal, and let's bring that over to here. And if we talk about Portuguese culture, which will be a topic for the future, won't it? So we have a similar situation in Portugal that happened in the United Kingdom, where the former colonies are being invited to come over and live in the motherland, if you like, or for want of a phrase. And that's what's happening in great numbers. And there's a huge integration taking place. And it's sometimes a little bit uneasy, isn't it, with the traditional conservative Portuguese compared to the progressive new integration of the ex-colonial population. Very much like the UK experienced some time ago, with all that brings with it. Now, eventually, and also the same thing you said about how Muhammad is the most popular name in UK. It's not in Portugal yet, but the same thing could happen, couldn't it? People could say, well, the most popular name now in Portugal is a Brazilian or African one. And they would be making the same sorts of points, maybe having the same sorts of concerns and conversations about that. Yeah. So we could call it Portuguese culture, couldn't we? Or we could go to the heart of it, which is to describe what it is. And I think there's a similarity between British culture and Portuguese culture, which is what? Fairness, decency, a relaxation about a kind of liberalness, funnily enough. Of like, I'll mind my own business if you mind your own business. And these are beautiful things, well worth preserving, aren't they? And to not have them ridden roughshod over by other people who want to tell you what to do, and sometimes with the most awful motives. Not just the right, but the left as well. So that's a live conversation for us, isn't it? That is what we're going through in the country we live in at the moment, I think.
Yeah, sure. I couldn't agree more.
Do you think that conversation is being had widely and in those terms?
I think it's difficult because I think it's impossible to talk openly about some things without people getting angry and calling people names, whether it be wokey or whether it be far right or whatever it is. So it's very difficult to have those conversations.
Yes.
About things that sometimes I think are quite obvious.
and would be useful to talk about. But good evening to you. Is British culture as you know it today the same as British culture just 100 years ago? It's bullshit being naturalist. Culture changes over time, and not just in Britain. But decency doesn't change. So that's the point I'm making. As soon as you add a kind of ideology or nationality to things, it's always going to get messy. But if you're on the ticket of decency, I don't think decency's changed in 100 years. It can be evoked anytime 100 years ago or tomorrow. That's to me is the point, is how you preserve those values in a culture rather than argue about whether they are national characteristics or not.
Yeah, but you also, Basal, I agree with you. Culture does change, but the different, like what I would say is part of, for example, conservatism is saying, okay, we accept that it changes, but we'd like it to happen a little bit slower so that we can, ease into the change. We know things are going to change, so that's all that's about. Yeah. And what I would also say is, it's bullshit being. I think you mean nationalist.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Okay,
or naturist.
What I would say is that I think that's just an opinion. That's just an opinion. I think that if people want to, like, for example, I live in a country where I never hear anyone, like, for example, I hear in England people saying they don't like seeing English flags flowing. And I hear Americans saying they don't like seeing the American flag flowing. Where the English people and the American people are in Portugal, I often hear saying, isn't it so nice how proud the Portuguese are of their culture?
Yes.
You know what I mean? Yeah. So isn't that funny how that works?
Isn't
that a funny one?
It is, but and there's motive as well, isn't there? Why are people flying those flags? And that's an interesting conversation to have, because generally speaking, Portugal, they're being flown for football, aren't they? They're, the national team is playing somewhere, and there is a sense of pride about it.
I mean, I see a lot of houses flying Portuguese flags. I mean, you go through most villages here, I would say 1 in 10, 1 in 15, maybe at the lowest, have a Portuguese flag. Now, imagine if those were all English flags or all American flags.
Say that again. Run that scenario.
I'm saying, imagine if this was an English village with that many English flags flying, people would be horrified, wouldn't they?
Yeah, because of what's gone on, right?
Oh, this place is full of racists.
Because of what all that means now. Yeah,
but what I'm saying is, you don't know what it means. You have to ask each person who's flying that flag to tell you what it means.
And so you should. But it would appear the culture is not capable of having that conversation politely or easily anymore, is it?
Because you got to be allowed. If you want to be proud to be English and love what being English is, that's got to be your choice.
Well, there's a cracking Sikh councillor who I met in Plymouth. He is, I think he's a local politician, and he loves celebrating St. George's Day. He rides a horse through Plymouth with his turban on and draped in a St. George flag. He's a real character and makes a big deal out of that. You'd be proud of him, Tony. I never hear anything in public because I do, and I love that too, T-Duck. Long may that continue. I like it. What's that like, seeing the flags flying, presumably?
I think I've said on the show before, actually, T-Duck. I think I shared my experience in when I lived in Sweden.
Yes.
And for the first, I don't know, 3 or 4 months in Sweden, I always used to leave my door open, and I always would remark on how safe it is here. And then as my Swedish got better and better, and I started to be able to read the newspaper, I was like,
shut the door, quick.
Shut the door. And I had this experience the other day. I was at a cafe up in Lagares de Beira, Espingada, very nice cafe, by the way, if you're ever in Lagares de Beira, run by a very good friend of mine. But anyway, I was sitting there watching the news, and I was thinking to myself, God, I can read most of this. And it was like murder, terror, fire, policemen stabbed, and then there was in Evora. Now, when I think of Evora or Evora, I automatically think of the Roman ruins. But what I don't think about is a guy getting his head kicked in outside a nightclub by bouncers, and I was just like, it was the first time I've really sat and watched the news, and the volume was down, and I was reading it, and I thought, God, this is just no different to any other news, you know.
Yeah, right.
This place is mental. Yeah. I got to stop leaving my laptop in my car, you know.
I haven't yet, and I dropped my phone a couple of Sundays ago, and it was handed into the local bar where it was assumed I might turn up, and it was just wonderful. What doesn't change is some people being ignorant and thinking that they are the best mankind on our planet. Yeah, these are the hidden utter bastards, I suppose, aren't they? And that's how racism is born. And I suppose the elders and the wise do think to themselves, we have to create conditions where that doesn't stick, where that doesn't grow. That's the mature angle on this, isn't it? It's like there is that intention in some people. There are people who will take advantage in a zombie apocalypse, as you said before, Tony. And we have to stop that happening. We have to stop that eventuality, that context, that environment being there, so that the best of humanity can prevail rather than the worst, I suppose, is one way of putting it.
Yeah, there has to be a live and let live approach. I've got a feeling that I would get on really well with Basal. I've got a feeling that me and him would not see eye to eye on some things, but that we would get on really well.
We do. I mean, and we are managing to maintain a.
He strikes me as being a man of integrity. Do you know what I mean?
Yes. Well, let's make this more of a phone in. Where's our other mate who was with us all night for the election? Fleedham. He's not here tonight, is he?
Fleedham's not here.
Fleedham was great when he phoned in, so we can make more of a phone-in vibe. We've got to finish quite soon. I've got a webinar.
I didn't get a chance to speak about the CEO thing.
Go on then. UFO, OAP CEO. What is it?
Well, it was just very quickly regarding the everyone heard about the shooting in the US of the
Oh yes.
I had another one here. Neighbor row erupts as Catholic Church social club members accused of drug taking, throwing up and urinating in the street.
But we don't have time to get into that.
Nothing new there. Yeah.
But it was the CEO of what's the healthcare?
Can't remember, but yes, he was assassinated on the street.
Yeah, and he was assassinated. Now, apparently, that particular company, they've arrested the guy now, by the way, and apparently he was suffering from chronic back pain every day. Now, as someone who suffers from sciatica, now I only have a flare up once or twice a year, but I could tell you if I had that every day, just put a pillow over my face, honestly, because there's no quality of life there. Now, this company, why I'm saying that is this company,
why
35%, because apparently he was another one who was rejected. Thank you, United Healthcare, exactly.
Hi, Bob.
35% of claims they reject. And of course, an insurance company's goal is to reject as many claims as possible, isn't it?
Yeah, of course it
when
is.
You think
They're
about
not
it.
A charity, are they? Well,
so there's some
MGen is, and MGen in this country is a society rather than a business, so it does operate in a different way.
And everyone knows, even in I know, I mean, the US is batshit crazy when it comes to insurance, anyway. But everyone knows, even in progressive Europe, it takes a lot before you'll make a claim on insurance, doesn't it? You have a crash, you try and sort it out by the roadside because nobody wants.
Yeah, they're not there to pay out, are they? And help.
Yeah, we basically do it because it's the law, or we don't, or we don't want to be ruined if we crash into a Porsche or something. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah.
That's why we do it. So it's been interesting to see a lot of people really come out and openly hero worshipping this guy who went and shot the CEO. And as much as my instant reaction is to be against this kind of vigilante action and to try and see that CEO as a human being, even though he's probably a more lizard than human. There's a part of me that wonders if that will kind of send a message maybe to other CEOs who think that they are untouchable. They can just go ahead.
Right. Well, let's personalize that. What is your message to healthcare CEOs, Tony?
Well, it's a massive problem, isn't it? I mean, I don't know what the answer is because on one point you want to you think, oh well, maybe they shouldn't be private companies. Maybe it should be controlled by the government.
Well, it will be soon, won't it? I mean, Elon Musk will probably be taking care of that in next year, won't he?
Yeah, well, I imagine he's probably worried as well. But people tried to shoot Trump, didn't they? And there's people who. But what's interesting to me is this CEO is someone who actually you could hold him responsible for some very bad health outcomes, including deaths for a lot of people.
Yeah,
this
well,
is a guy who's
why he
actually
got paid the big bucks, wasn't he?
Yeah, well, it's also why he got
Yes.
got what he got.
Yeah, which is again would not be an outcome or MO that we would approve of for sorting problems out, right? I'm not sure that's a solution for CEOs the world over, but I guess what you're saying it demonstrates a level of frustration and inability people have with the situation as we have it.
Yeah, although it could be argued that he and people like him are killing people.
Yeah, of course.
Actually killing people.
Yeah, but I mean, we could be accused
and people don't have any power.
Yes.
What do you think? What does anyone think? What does anyone who's in the chat?
Well, it's good to be asking that finally on the moment when we consider wrapping up the show and ponder little Pepe there with his little friend.
Pond.
Yes, very good. I
did that on purpose.
Completely subconscious. I'm just like you. My synapses are firing all over the place. It just comes out of me, Tony. But that's a beautiful image, I think, for us to consider. And when we've been talking about some of the difficulties that can occur in life, it's nice to remember, isn't it, that a man or a frog can still make his way down to the water's edge and gently caress a duckling. It's a beautiful world that we live in.
Ponder by the pond, pondering by the pond. Hey,
So
I'll tell you the thing.
On that note,
I'll tell you something.
Go on.
Just yesterday, I was at a cafe and I met a lovely woman, a lovely woman.
Yeah.
And she was talking to me, and I said, "Well, what's your name? What's your name?" And
Yeah.
she said, "Oh, my name's Carmen."
Really?
My name's Carmen. You like that sexy? Did you hear my sexy voice?
I'm drawn towards the camera, Tony. Tell me more.
She said, "My name's Carmen," and I
Yeah.
said to her, "That's a lovely name. Does it have any meaning?" She said, "Yes. I like cars and I like men." And then she said, "What's your name?" And I said, "Well, my name is Lager Fanny."
Munson and the Geeza. Munson and the Geeza. Reporting from the scene. Munson and the Geeza. News in every right. Munson and the Geeza. Munson and the Geeza. Reporting from the scene. Munson and the Geeza. News in every right.